Now, one of the things that the Steelers have kind of been plagued with this year is some timid middle linebacker play from Joe Schobert and Devin Bush. They played scared. If Derrick Henry was healthy in this matchup, I would be like, yeah, we can just chalk this one up as an L. Because those dudes would be like running away. I don't know if you guys watch Mr. Go. Like he's kind of like one of the exploded kind of on TikTok sort of things. He's the film review guy, but he always makes fun of the guys that are timid and runs away. Those Steelers linebackers have made it on that show on multiple occasions. But without Derrick Henry in the lineup, Hawk, can we expect whoever the backups are to still perform to that degree, or did the Steelers catch a break this one because this linebacker play has been timid to say the least?
Gotcha. Well, first, shout out to those in the comment section. What's good, fellas and ladies? How y'all doing, by the way? Ty, what's good? Yes, we're back. Appreciate that. Yes, I have a Titans blue tree. Did somebody comment? Brian Brown, you're right. That's Titans blue all day. Okay, all right. Wanted to mention that. All right. So, yes, Jacques and I talked a lot about the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Pittsburgh historically has had some of the best linebackers at one time, right? Jake Young, what's good? Tighten up, Titan fantasy. So, this is the first time I've ever seen the Steeler linebackers look like kickers trying to tackle people, okay? I look at Devin Bush, a first-round pick, right? He's struggling, man. He's struggling. 55 is on the ground a lot. Joe Schobert, struggling. I've seen Spillane when he's out on the field. I know a lot of people talk about Spillane when he hit Derrick Henry or whatever, but since then it seemed like he gave up his soul after that play. Alex Highsmith, is your other linebacker. Well, he plays pretty well. I'm shocked, and I've seen enough tape to see like our running game should do well. I don't know what you all seen against the Patriots. We had over 200 yards rushing against the Patriots, and we had 2 practice squad running backs in Deontay Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard. I do anticipate us having a good running attack against the Steelers. I think Dontrell Hilliard will play a bit, but I think Deontay Foreman will be the guy to look after. They're not Derrick Henry by no measurement. Okay, so that part is not as scary, so to speak, as far as big plays of 80 yards and arm tap and breaking tackles or whatever. But I do think when I see the tape, I'm like, man, there's a lot of holes, and it seems like Pittsburgh just gets blocked easily, and they miss a lot of tackles. Dalvin Cook is going to the Hall of Fame off that one game. I've seen it. Lamar Jackson had a great. I seen the running back for the Ravens, Devontae Freeman had a heck of a game against them, right? So yeah, I'd be concerned if I'm a Steeler fan of their linebackers, man. They suck.
Hey, you know what? That's a fair way to put it. I don't think there's going to be many Steeler fans that'll stand here and argue with that on that one. The only hope is they can turn it around when Devin Bush isn't as scared from his coming back from his ACL injury from a year ago. So that's really where all the hope lies. Otherwise, the Steelers might have to be looking to completely revamp that inside linebacker corps. But outside of that, Jacques, did you see any other major holes in the Steelers defense that you think the Titans are going to be successful attacking?
Like you said, I like the run. The scheme when I seen when you guys were playing the Vikings, and I watched that game, and Justin Jefferson was running that same crosser. The first half, I mean, literally, it took a minute for the Steelers defense to adjust to that, and I was actually surprised. I was like, he's running the same play, and this is so uncharacteristic of the Steelers to kind of let this continue to happen. And I said, if we had A.J. Brown, oh, my God. I mean, that same particular play, that crossing, that deep crosser, he would kill it. He would eat it alive. So having what the Minnesota Vikings were able to do and having Julio and you trying to get Julio more involved, we can kind of attack that part of the game. But I'm agreeing with Hawk. We are more of a run-first team. And Dalvin Cook, oh, my God, Dalvin Cook acted a fool on your defense. I mean, I'm like, Hawk, I'm surprised at how bad the linebackers were. And at the point of attack, they couldn't tackle, missing tackles. I mean, I was like, what is going on? And it got so deep in a hole that it was too late to get out that hole. And I'm just observing. I said, okay, you can actually run on the Steelers. I'm actually kind of surprised. So what we were able to do with the Patriots and against the Patriots with the 2 running back attack that we had with Hilliard and Deontay Foreman, we can attack that because we're going to need that to open up the pass. And I think the Minnesota Vikings did a very good job at balancing that particular offense where they were able to run the ball. Then that deep crosser came over, and then they ran the ball, and then the deep crosser came over again. So, I mean, it's several different ways that you can attack this particular defense, but in the middle is where you really, 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 really can get the Steelers.
Yeah, no, watching this team, you can see many holes on this defense, and it's painful to watch sometimes. Jeffrey, do you have any faith that the Steelers can kind of like dial some of this back and not be limited by these giant chunk plays, like which seems to be anytime they're turning around and handing the ball off or throwing the ball deep downfield? Can they turn the taps down slightly enough that it's not as bad as it's been in recent weeks?
Well, actually, I want to real quick talk about those crosser routes and how they were getting that. And it's pretty simple. In order to stop the run, they were just coming out in 21 personnel, fullback and a tight end and a running back. And the Steelers were loading the box. They were sending Terrell Edmonds up almost to linebacker depth. And so it's just the outside receivers running deep crossers with Minkah Fitzpatrick. And all you're doing all day is just reading which way Minkah Fitzpatrick went and go to the other guy. That's all you have to do. And our pass rush without TJ Watt out there was given, 3.5 seconds for a guy to sit there and look, and then he's throwing. And there were times Kirk Cousins threw. He stood there for 3-4 seconds in the pocket, throws a deep ball, and at the end he's just throwing, does his follow through, and there's no one near him. Mm-hmm. He's got a completely clean pocket. It's like there are so few quarterbacks in the NFL that can't make a deep throw if they have that kind of a pocket. And worst of all, in that game, Minkah was helping Ahkello Witherspoon whether he had Justin Jefferson or not. And so often you just had Cameron Sutton on Justin Jefferson, and that's just, you're just asking for it. Like that's never going to work. Sutton's a solid number 2 corner, but that's never going to work. And whenever they back up and try and do cover 2, try and do a little zone, you just run right at them. You just move, Chris Wormley, just move him right out of the way and run right through B gap all day. It's bad. There was a play that the offensive line literally threw Chris Wormley into Montravius Adams and knocked down Montravius Adams with Chris Wormley. And I'm just like, well, I mean, yeah, he just ran for 20 yards. Of course he did. Like, he just took out half the line. It's bad. I'm hoping again, I'm crossing every finger I can find that was Thursday night football and that the Steelers somehow look like a completely different team.
And speaking of that Thursday night game, I also got to add that Jeffrey Benedict predicted that game to be 6-6, another tie. After he flamed me for picking the Ravens to beat the Steelers the week before. Yeah. Let's just put that back out in the ether. So everyone knows exactly what's going on here. We're approaching the halfway mark, so I think we're going to jump into a break a little sooner than normal. And just if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, just hang tight. We're not going anywhere, but if you are listening on the podcast platform side, click over to part 2 right now.
Well, while we're on break, really